The Last Samurai, photographs of the last noble warriors of the feudal Japan from the 19th century. Modernization of the samurai. The relative peace of the Tokugawa era was shattered with the arrival of Commodore Matthew Perry's massive U.S. Navy steamships in 1853. Perry used his superior firepower to force Japan to open its borders to trade. Prior to that, only a few harbor towns under strict control of the shogunate were allowed to participate in Western trade, and even then it was based largely on the idea of playing the Franciscans and Dominicans agents one another in exchange for the crucial arquebus technology, which in turn was a major contributor to the downfall of the classical samurai. From 1854, the samurai army and the navy were modernized. The Naval Training School was established in Nagasaki in 1855. Naval students were sent to study in Western naval schools for several years, starting a tradition of foreign-educated future leaders, such as Admiral Enomoto. French naval engineers were hired to build naval arsenals, such as Yokosuka and Nagasaki. By the end of the Tokugawa shogunate in 1867, the Japanese Navy of the shogun already possessed 8 Western-style steam warships around the flagship of Kaliomaru, used against the pro-imperial forces during the Boshin War. The last showing of the original samurai was in 1867, when samurai from Choshu and Satsuma provinces defeated the shogunate forces in favor of the rule of the emperor in the Boshin War. The 2 provinces were the lands of the daimyos that submitted to Ieyasu after the Battle of Shigekihara in 1600. And their dissolution? In the 1870s, samurai comprised 5% of the population, or 400,000 families with about 1.9 million members. They came under the direct national jurisdiction in 1869, and of all the classes during the Meiji Revolution, they were the most affected. Although many lesser samurai had been active in the Meiji Restoration, the older ones represented an absolute feudal institution that had a practical monopoly of military force and to a large extent of education as well. A priority of the Meiji government was to gradually abolish the entire class of samurai and integrate them into the Japanese professional military and business classes. Their traditional guaranteed salaries were very expensive, and in 1873 the government started taxing the stipends and began to transform them into interest-bearing government bonds. The process was completed in 1879. The main goal was to provide enough financial liquidity to enable former samurai to invest in land and industry. A military force capable of contesting not just China, but the imperial powers required a large conscript army that closely followed Western standards. The notion of very strict obedience to chain of command was incompatible with the individual authority of the samurai. Samurai now became shikizoko. This status was abolished in 1947. The right to wear a katana in public was abolished, the katana sword, along with the right to execute commoners who paid them disrespect. In 1877, there was a localized samurai rebellion that was quickly crushed. Younger samurai often became exchange students because they were ambitious, literate, and well-educated. On return, some started private schools for higher education, while many samurai became reporters and writers and set up newspaper companies. Others entered government service. In the 1880s, 23% of prominent Japanese businessmen were from the samurai class, and by the 1920s, the number had grown to 35%. Their philosophy. The philosophies of Confucianism, Buddhism, and Zen, and to a lesser extent Shinto, influenced the samurai culture. Zen meditation became an important teaching because it offered a process to calm one's mind. The Buddhist concept of reincarnation and rebirth led samurai to abandon torture and needless killing, while some samurai even gave up violence altogether to become Buddhist monks after coming to believe that their killings were fruitless. And some were killed as they came to terms with these conclusions in the battlefield. The most defining role that Confucianism played in samurai philosophy was to stress the importance of the lord-retainer relationship, the loyalty that a samurai was required to show his lord. According to Robert Scharf, the notion that Zen is somehow related to Japanese culture in general, and Bushido in particular, is familiar to Western students of Zen through the writings of D.T. Suzuki, no doubt the single most important figure in the spread of Zen in the West. In a 16th century account of Japan sent to Father Ignatius Loyola at Rome, drawing from the statements of anger, Han Shiro's Western name, Xavier, describes the importance of honor to the Japanese letter preserved at College of Coimbra. In the first place, the nation which we have had to do here surpasses in goodness any of the nations lately discovered. I really think that among barbarous nations, there can be none that is more natural goodness than the Japanese. They are of kindly disposition, not at all given to cheating, wonderfully desirous of honor and rank. Honor with them is placed above everything else. There are a great many poor among them, but poverty is not a disgrace to anyone. There is one thing among them of which I hardly know whether it is practiced anywhere among Christians. The nobles, however poor they are, be received the same honor from the rest as if they were rich. And this is readings from the Wikipedia concerning the 19th century samurai. And these, of course, are genuine images, photographs. Some of them, of course, fake coloring added to give us a more of an idea of what they look like. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.